I'm a full-time cook, but I got this little bit of passion about photography. And then what I would like to try to do in this time we're going to spend together is give you some knowledge about digital photography, some basic knowledge, and share my passion. So hopefully this knowledge will be able you to gain this Digital Photography Honour, but maybe you're going to see some passion in yourself about this topic. So, but continue, I want to say, first of all, Happy New Year. Let's hope you all guys keeping well. And I would like to show you the first slide, which is the first. But first of all, let's see what we're going to talk about in this workshop. We're going to have a bit of story of photography, some principle of digital camera construction and how it works, the importance of light, some kind of difference between black and white picture and color picture, different lenses, and different image format and different compressions, and a little bit more knowledge for a picture well taken. So let's start with the first photograph, the first picture. This guy called Joseph Nicefor in 1826 took this picture outside his window in France. For now, we cannot see much, but we can see some roof and some, building, some tree down there. So pretty old picture. The first camera was made in 1839. Yeah, it looks like a box. Yeah, a wooden box. But the first digital camera that we're going to concentrate is made by Steve Sasson, who was an engineer in a Kodak company. He made this camera by using only some leftover part of other project. It was made in 1975, and it took 23 seconds to take a picture. So this guy take a picture and take 23 seconds to save it on the camera. Pretty long time compared to the camera now. Just take a picture and it's already saved on the phone or whatever. But this is a modern digital camera. This part is called the body of the camera, and you can see some different parts. They are, for example, the mirror inside under the red dots there is a very important part. Some lens mount, some shutter, yeah. And then we got the lens. We're gonna go through the lens in a bit. But the most important things about photography is light. In fact, photography means drawing with lights. For a well pictured exposed correctly, you need to learn a few things that we're gonna go through just in a minute. But what's exposure? Exposure is the total amount of light allowed to fall on the film, like for old camera, or image sensor for a digital camera. How you control the exposure? The two main things to control the exposure are aperture and shutter speed. Can you see the difference in this lens on the left hand? The hole in the middle of the lens is quite wide, so allowed a lot of picture to go through the lens to touch the sensor of the camera. On the picture on the right, can you see how small the hole is? So, of course, on the other side, we're gonna just a little bit of lights. And you control that by the one dial on the lens or actual camera. You measure the aperture by f point, for example, f1.8, like on the left picture, you can see f1.4 or f2. So lower is the number, biggest is the aperture. So on the left-hand side here can be 1.4, and on the right can be f22 maybe. So recap what's the aperture, the size of the hole or opening where the lights enter. Aperture is normally measured in f-stop number, higher the f-stop, lower the aperture, and vice versa. On the picture, you can see the comparison between all the different apertures. So from f1.8, which the hole in the middle of the lens is quite wide, is wide open, so allowed a lot of light to come through, but go through f16 and the hole coming smaller, so less light coming through. So you can see here different aperture example. From the top left corner, you can see this picture of the rose taken by a camera of f1.8 aperture, f1, f5.0, f11, and f22. You can see the most difference, you can just catch it quite quickly, is the depth of field. And you see on the f1.8, only the rose is sharp. All the background is blurry. On the other hand, the f22 is nice, perfectly sharp picture all through. You can see the houses on the back. You can see some lights, which you can't see on the f1.8. So to control your depth of field, you need to play with the aperture in this case. So lower is the aperture, you have less depth of field. Higher is the aperture, you got nice, sharp everything. So of course, for example, if you want to take a picture of a group of people, you don't want to focus only on a little bit, you want to focus on all group. So the aperture has to be like f11 or more. See, in this case, is the same example. The first flower is taken by 1.8, so it's a nice sharp flower. On the other hand, it's nice f22, so it's nice and sharp picture all the way through. The park is some tree on the background as well. The other point to control a nice, well-exposed picture is called shutter speed. What is shutter speed? Is the length of time the camera shutter is open. The camera shutter, like in the first picture, is the one is just behind the camera, behind the lens is the shutter. So lower is the shutter, so stay open, so a lot of lights come through. So longer times lead to more light, shorter times, on the other hand, lead to less light. Faster speed equal short shutter equal less light. So motion freeze, for example, if you are taking a sport photography, if you want to catch something is happening very quick, like a football player hit the ball, you need a very fast shutter speed. On the other hand, if you want to take some nice night photography picture, your shutter speed has to be longer. For example, this picture I took in London was that bird, and I had to use very fast shutter speed because that bird was flying quite rapidly with the wings. So for motion freeze, I had to use fast shutter speed. But on this case, for example, I want to take some picture of the fireworks. I had to use a longer shutter speed. In this case as well, I took this picture to see all these people moving around to make a picture a bit more dynamic. So I use a longer shutter speed. The other important things out of three, we talk about shutter speed, we talk aperture, and the other important thing is ISO. But what's ISO? ISO is the sensor sensitivity of light. So for example, you can see in this picture here is a picture taken the same time, but with different ISO. So ISO very low, you can see a picture very dark, but as soon as you put up this value, like to 1600, you can see a nice bright picture. The same here, same picture, same time taken, ISO 100, so very low, it's coming quite dark. But as soon as we push the ISO 200, 400, 800, it's coming brighter and brighter. So to recap, to take a well-exposed picture, we need to play out of these three factors: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. One other aspect of photography that I really like, because it's one of my favorite way to take picture, is black and white picture. In digital photography, a color filter array is the part that converts the light, then split in color before touch the sensor. So there is some camera that don't have this filter array. So they just specify to take black and white picture. Some people, maybe they like it, but they're very specific camera. So this is a picture I take of different angle of the Eiffel Tower in Paris from underneath. And you can see the black and white allowed you to play with more contrast, more depth. So in this case, it's quite hard to take a picture instead of the color one. This one as well, I took in Cornwall during one student camp, I guess was the Yan, something like that, when I broke my arm. But yes, this picture was taken on the coast, with just in front of the sun. So the sun was setting, was nice scenery, and I like because some people take sunset in color. That's very nice. You put 10,000 on filter, and the picture looks nice. But I say, oh, let's try it in black and white to say something different. That's the beauty of taking picture with digital camera. Allowed you to take as much picture as you want, have fun, try, and learn more. This is another picture I took in London. And I like because you can see in black and white, you can see more than color for me, the different on the clouds. You can see the black and white of the clouds coming more through. But we talk about the body of the camera, but on the other end is as important, there are lenses. There are three different main category of lenses. There are wide lenses, telephoto lenses, and macro one. The focal length, which is measured in millimeters. For a wide lens, they are 35 millimeters or below. They are considered wide lenses. I took this picture of the St. Albans Cathedral with the I think it was 18 millimeter lens. So I was quite close to don't put a lot of crowd inside. But yeah, I took this picture with a not extra wide, but wide lens. Telephoto lens can, like the zoom of the lens, so can be from 70 millimeters or above. 200, 400, they are called telephoto lens or zoom lens for human class, not professional photographer. Macro lens, on the other hand, they are very specific. So allowed you to go very close to the subject, to focus very close. For example, this ladybird you can go very close to the flower and get a nice, very sharp image that other lenses not allowed you to do it. The most popular image format, they call JPEG, PNG, GIF, and RAW. The most common that our phone taking is called JPEG, which are the most common one. But for more professional use that allowed you to do more post-production work, they call RAW. We're gonna go through the difference when we talk about the compression of the picture. There are two kinds of image compression methods, lossless and lossy. Lossless compression is a method to reduce the size of a file while maintaining the same quality as before it was compressed. On the other hand, in order to give an even smaller size, lossy compression discards some parts of a photo. So JPEG, we discharge some of the quality of the picture. And on the other hand, a raw picture maintains all the data taken from the camera, allowed you to do quite well post-production work. But what are the different use of photography? There are many. You can see a portrait, photojournalism, fashion, sport, architecture, wild photography, natural photography. This is a picture taken in the London Eye in London. so can be classified as architectural photography. And it's different angle than usual. Usually they take this picture from on the other side of the riverbank, so where you can see all the London Eye. But in this case, you can walk very close, and underneath the London Eye, so you can see this massive and wide wheel. And say, oh, that nobody take attention on this angle. This is an example of portrait picture. And the hardest part of the portrait picture can be because you don't have a lot of time. You need to freeze that moment quickly. For example, in this case, the lady was smiling at his friend. And I had to capture this moment quickly, because maybe in the next second, they are just maybe don't laugh to each other anymore. You know? So it's quite hard category of photography. In this case, I took this picture, just plain sea, nice plain sea. That doesn't, you have more time to study the photography. You have more time to think what you're taking picture of. And it's nice because you can see the horizon, nice relaxing picture from my point of view. That was my idea of this picture. What is the pixel? You know, everyone talking about, oh, I got a camera 30 megapixel, I got a camera 200 megapixel, but what is this actual pixel means? A pixel is the smallest unit of a digital image that are in the sensor. A pixel are combined to form a complete image. So for example, in this picture here, you can see all the little square, they are form the word pixel, for example, or the blue one. Every little one is 1 pixel. And the pixel lead us to the image resolution. Resolution refers to the number of pixels in an image. Resolution is sometimes identified by width and height of the image. For example, an image that is 2048 pixel wide and 1536 high will lead up a picture of 3,145,728 pixels, or more common, 3.1 megapixel. That is what megapixel finally means. But we learn how to take a well-exposed picture. But if we don't know how to take a picture, it's a bit pointless. So now that we know how to take a perfect exposed picture, we need to understand where to put the main subject that we want to take a picture of. First of all, we need to understand what's a framing. We need to frame the subject. In digital photography, framing is the presentation of a visual element, especially the placement of the subject in relation to other objects. Framing can make an image more aesthetically pleasing and keep the eye and frame on the eye and on the frame object, the viewer on the frame object. For example, here you can see that this guy taking this picture used some net to take the subject, to frame the subject. As we said before, we need to understand the use of the light. For example, here, like the picture I showed you before, on the sunset, I was thinking I'll show you something. Yes, it's sunset and sunrise are the very nice moment to take a picture of. That about setting of the camera, they are quite similar, but most of the people prefer the sunset on the sunrise because it's time of the day. I don't want to wake up at 4 o'clock to take a picture when I can take kind of the same on the sunset. For example, here I took this picture on the Geneva Lake. It was nice because the light was behind those mountains there, and kind of some level of the picture. Can you see is coming light and dark at the mountains? That is one use of the light. For example, here you have a picture on the Bahamas. Behind there is the light, but you can only see some silhouette of this because the light is on the back. But you can use that on your advantage to create something more pleasant than a black subject. For example, here, I don't know if Diane remember where he was here. we took this picture that is more nice, and you can use the back, in front of the light as well. One of the most, some photographers may say not that important anymore, but you guys need to know, was the rule of thirds. In photography, the rule of thirds is a type of composition. The subject or the image is placed at the intersection of those dividing lines. Like, for example, here, you can see the bird is placed on the first vertical line, but between the two parts of the horizontal line. Can you see the eyes of the bird is nice, straight on the intersection of those lines. Here as well, that building there is put in on the right-hand side of the picture to make more dynamic and depth in the picture. Here as well, I tried to put the Eiffel Tower right on the inside. Some people, I took the same picture I will show you after, with the same picture, but Eiffel Tower in the middle. I prefer this because you see, the eye of the viewer has to go through the picture to find the subject. What am I looking at? Like create some interaction with the viewer, not just, oh, that's the object, Eiffel Tower, and end of the story. Try to create more dynamic. Tell a story with your picture. One other requirement for your digital photography honor is leading lines. Leading lines are the lines that appear in a photographer that lead the eye of the viewer to the subject. For example, in this case, you can follow all the bricks, all the line created by the bricks to lead to the subject of the picture. The subject is not put in front of you straight away, but you need to go through this picture to find the subject and create more dynamic, more appealing picture to the viewer. Another aspect of photography can be like night photography. Night photography refers to the activity of capturing images outdoor at night between dusk and dawn. But to create a picture at night, of course, we need some requirements, some tools, except, apart our camera. In certain setting, where you need to lower the shutter speed, as we say, to allow enough light to reach the sensor, you may find yourself in need of using a camera support called tripod, like the one you see in the picture. But of course, if you find a situation that you want to take a picture at night, so you need to lower the shutter speed, but you don't have a tripod, you can always be creative. Find some stable support, like a table, a little wall, that you can put safely your camera there. These are some night photography example. Can you see like the Colosseum is nice and sharp, but in front you can see some lights created by the traffic, oncoming traffic. So of course, for this picture, you need to use a tripod and a very low shutter speed. So allowed you enough light to come in through and to create this nice appealing picture. Another of your requirement is the eye level. An eye level shot refers to when the level of your camera is played at the same height as the eyes of the character in your frame. So for example, you're going to see a nice squirrel, so you put the camera to the same level. So you don't take a picture from above the squirrel. Of course you can, but like this will be more interactive, more nice to see. Like I said, the picture before, the one a few before, the horizon is very important. The horizon line, which separates foreground from the sky, is a very important element in many scenes. But most important, keep it straight. Nobody wants to see a nice panoramic picture with a not nice and straight horizon. Will be not nice to see. Some like the one I saw before is nice and straight. Boom, right in the middle. This is the same. The horizon is nice and level, and you can see a nice subject. The same. This is sunset picture, so you can see some light coming through the wet sand in front. So you create some more pleasant picture for the viewer. Some extra requirement that I was maybe able to go deep. The direction of the light, front, side, and backlight. The quality of the light can be a shade, sunlight, and time of the day, or non-natural light. And some of the, when you take a picture of a subject, try to feel the frame. Try to use your feet as the zoom. Don't always zoom with the camera. Get closer to the subject. If you take a picture of your friend, don't stay 4 meters away and use all your zoom on your phone, on your camera. 3-4 steps in front. When it's safe to do it. This can be a nice exercise for you. Take your phone, your camera, or your equipment, and use only one level of zoom, just plain camera. Go and find something. And post-production, that is a nice subject that you can go through, like crop an image, put up the brightness, the contrast, that always you can do. You don't need expensive program on your computer, you can do through your phone. Take a picture, crop means when you take a partial part of the picture and discharge the rest. So you can do this post-production simple steps through your phone. You don't need like expensive. Of course, you can learn something through the Photoshop or Lightroom, but start with your phone will be easier. Now we are at home, we can do a lot of experiment. The project you can do for your requirement are 3. There are 1 CD cover, a photo scrapbook page, and a collage. You can be creative as much as possible. But I was thinking as well, because I found something more interesting from my point of view, try to tell a story with 2-3 pictures. We all Pathfinder. We all have a collection of pins, honors. Some Pathfinder collect scarf from other countries. Take a picture of those, 2-3 pictures with the same kind of subject, but tell a story in 2-3 pictures. Be creative. You know? Or try to sell something. For example, you have a favorite mug, or a favorite pen, or favorite book, a dish. Try to take a picture as you want to sell that pen, that dish, that mug. Put some tools around, some other things around to make that picture more appealing as you want to sell it. Yes, I'm quite done, but if you want to guys go to a subject more deep, just please ask me a question. I will be more than happy to answer it.